Hi there, I am your host, Karl. You're welcome to another episode of the Totally Levy and Horne football podcast. We're going to talk a lot of things about Ronaldo's return, scoring a double this weekend against Newcastle, and a horrific injury happened at Ellen Road yesterday between Leeds and Liverpool. We also will talk about the EFL and the rest of the Premier League games, along with the Champions League and the Europa League and the Europa Conference League over the next couple of days. So joining us, along with us, Douglas is also not going to be part of the show, but we'll hopefully have him again, hopefully as soon as possible in the next week or so. But joining us is our usual co-host from Pub Top Football, Regan Wilson. Regan, good to see you.
Glad to be back on, mate. Excited to actually talk about some club football compared to international football last week. I was glad to have the Premier League and the Championship and everything back, and a bit of normality restored. It's always frustrating, this first international break. You know, you play 3 games and then it's stopping again to watch a load of as Englishmen, meaningless qualifiers, because we know the result ultimately already. So yeah, glad to be back, mate.
Absolutely, indeed. We're going to start off with our first game, and this is what was going to excite you, Regan. We have to say, what a return for Cristiano Ronaldo, scoring 2 goals against Newcastle, Man United winning 4-1. Talk us about the game, Regan. Ronaldo was super nervous, but he didn't look super nervous on the field.
Dream start for I love his mentality that he said after the game. I didn't expect 2, but I expected 1. He goes into every game just expecting to score, because it's Cristiano Ronaldo, and I was speaking to my friend before the game, and I said, even if he doesn't start, if he comes off the bench for 20 minutes, he's going to score, because it's Cristiano Ronaldo, no other reason. And yeah, he played really well. The first goal, you can say maybe the goalkeeper should have done better, but it's the 3rd game in a row that Greenwood's hit a shot low and hard, and it does make it more difficult for the goalkeeper. And you know what? You earn your bit of luck, and Ronaldo is just a predator in the box. He's got that sixth sense, knowing where the ball's going to fall, and he's in the right place at the right time to be a tapping merchant, as some people like to say. But then the second goal is even more impressive. I mean, Luke Shaw makes a great run, but the pass, if you notice, the pass is actually a little bit behind Ronaldo. So he has to drag it with his right foot in front of him onto his left. And then obviously nutmegs his keeper with a great finish. And yeah, overall, this was a really good performance. Obviously, Newcastle got back into the game a bit. It's the only chance they had all game, really, what I can remember. The defence, Varane, Maguire had very little to do. And I mean, Bruno's goal, we've got to talk about that. I mean, that from a sentimental point of view, obviously my favourites are the Ronaldo goals, but Bruno's and Lingard's goals are probably the 2 best, actually. I mean, Bruno's was just a wonderful individual goal, great strike. And the best, actually, teamwork goal was the 4th one. I mean, Pogba gets the ball, takes a heavy touch, but manages to slide in, get his foot there, slip it to Van der Beek. Van der Beek gives it back. Pogba plays it to Martial. Lovely little dummy from Martial after he'd made a great run in behind to get in the box in the first place. And then Jesse Lingard. I mean, I didn't think this guy was still going to be here this season, but it's great to see him back amongst the goals. And I think there's going to be game time coming up for Jesse in the next few weeks. You see, there's a couple of negatives in the performance in terms of individual players, and one of them was Jadon Sancho. I mean, this guy for me is going to be an absolute superstar in a Manchester United shirt, but you can still see he's lacking that match sharpness. Yeah, and I did say when we signed him, I don't think he's going to be a Bruno Fernandes where he hits the ground running and, takes to the Premier League like a duck to water. I do think he will have a few months adjustment period, really, where he needs bedded into the team. And the beauty of our squad now, the amount of options we've got in them attacking areas, is we don't have to force him into the team. He can come in and out of the team off the bench here and there, playing the odd game. And look, you've got Jesse Lingard, you've got Martial, you've got Cavani when he's back. So many players to come in. Rashford's not even available yet. So it's exciting. And yeah, convincing win. It's only Newcastle at home, so I'm not going to get too carried away. But what I loved also about Ronaldo's interview afterwards is he's not afraid to say, we've got to build the maturity and the mentality in the team to win the Premier League and the Champions League. And I love that, Karl, because you hear all the time these typical media-trained responses from players in interviews. Oh, we're focusing on the next game, blah, blah, blah. No, Ronaldo's saying, we want to win the Premier League and the Champions League. And I love to hear that, because ultimately, whether we will is a different question. We're certainly not going to win both, but we've got a good enough squad to be able to. So there's no reason why we shouldn't be looking at that. But yeah, brilliant weekend, and a dream come true, really, to see Ronaldo scoring in that number 7 shirt for Manchester United again.
Yeah, absolutely, indeed. Turning on to Newcastle, Regan. Is this a huge worry now for Steve Bruce? The one side of the main, Alan Shearer, spoke on Match of the Day on Saturday. He's worried about his club, where it's going. Do you really have really, really deep concerns for Newcastle this season if they're going to be relegation favourites?
No, because I just think they'll go on a run sort of like they did towards the end of last season. I think they only lost 2 of the last 8 games. And I just think under Steve Bruce, I think they will have enough to stay up. But ultimately, the only way I can put it is it's going to be another Newcastle season. They're going to struggle. They're going to play turgid, crap football all season. They're not going to be a good watch. It's not going to be too enjoyable for Newcastle fans. They'll get the odd, result here and there. But they'll get enough results stale, but ultimately, yeah, they'll struggle. They'll be right down there. But whilst Mike Ashley's the owner of that football club, I wouldn't expect any better as a Newcastle fan. I do feel sorry for them, to be honest, because they're a great fan base. 52,000 every week in the Championship. They really do deserve better. But whilst Mike Ashley's there, it doesn't matter what manager you get, because ultimately it's not like you're going to get an elite manager that's going to make you massively overachieve. You might have the odd season where, I think they finished 10th once under Raf Benitez, but it's going to be typical Newcastle, what it has been in the Mike Ashley era, ultimately, which is unfortunate for a great club like them.
Absolutely, yeah. I agree with what you said. What you said about that. Moving on to the next game was a Saturday lunchtime kickoff between Crystal Palace and Spurs. What a win for Crystal Palace, winning 3-0 against Tottenham Hotspur, who look very lacklustre without Son and Steven Bergwijn. You can't make no excuses, but goals from Wilfried Zaha and 2 goals from Edouard, his debut coming out for 28 seconds. Where did Tottenham go wrong, especially with the red card of Tanga? When he actually had that altercation with Zaha, and then minutes later, that lunge on Ayew.
I mean, it's so lash. I mean, me and Coddy did the Premier View show this morning for Pub Talk Football, and I think Coddy said it was like a clothesline, like you'd see in WWE, that first challenge on Zaha. I mean, he's so erratic. You can see why he plays more of a right back as a centre-back. Sometimes a full-back, you think of Wan-Bissaka, sometimes his positional sense can be poor, but he's that good at that last-ditch challenge that he gets away with it. As a centre-back, you can't be caught out of position and then make that last-ditch challenge, because ultimately you're going to end up giving away penalties. You're going to, you can't be clumsy like that playing at centre-back. But just in terms of, before we get into the individual goals, to put it back to you, what did you actually, if you was a Tottenham fan going into this season, obviously we've seen him have a great start, win the first 3 games, which doesn't really tell the story of all them games. But what would you have actually expected? I mean, top four challenge? Do you think that's realistic for them?
I thought top 4 challenge was probably the realistic challenge, but I will just say minimum expectations, more top 6 just to get back in Europe. I don't think they're strong enough for the Champions League at this particular moment, especially with the teams around them who have strengthened. Barring Liverpool, who only bought 1 player, but they look strengthened. I've got Van Dijk and Gomez back, and also Jota back, with his injury issues, but he's come back a lot stronger. And Salah, is on the run again. It's a question for Spurs what they go from here, because I feel like Harry Kane was so isolated on Saturday. He was so isolated front.
On that guy, for as much as I didn't want him to go to Man City, don't get me wrong, because it massively strengthens them. And in my mind, if he had gone to Man City, you can hand them the Premier League trophy now, because that's really the only thing they're missing. But on a personal level, I just feel so sorry for that guy. I mean, ultimately, he's one of the best strikers we've seen in the Premier League in the last 10, 15 years. And he's going to end his career with nothing to show for it except a few individual awards, because he's got 4 years left on his contract still. He's not leaving Tottenham in the next couple of years. Now, Tottenham are right to not sell below their valuation. But the worst thing you want at your football club is to have a player, especially a senior player like Kane, a player who is not the captain. I think he's the vice captain. Lloris is the captain. But a player who all the players that look up to, really. The worst thing is for him to not want to be there. And I mean, Tottenham are back. After the first 3 games, they're back. They've done a Spursy, haven't they? They've capitulated in the last 15 minutes. I mean, like you say, Odsonne Edouard was his second touch he scored with. His first touch, obviously, he got it out of his feet, and then he scores. And then in stoppage time, I think it was, he gets another. They just fell apart in that last 20 minutes. And going down to 10 men, it's no excuse for me, because I've seen teams come to Old Trafford, go down to 10 men, and then they actually seem more difficult to play against when they go down to 10 men, because the defending the lives are so much more compact and hard to break down. and they've just fell apart. But do you know what? This first 3 games, except, well, the Man City one, I mean, City just looked so rusty, and Tottenham ultimately caught them cold in that first game. But when they beat Wolves 1-0, Wolves battered them. Wolves absolutely played them off the park. They were very lucky to win that game. So I've not really been too convinced by them anyway. And I think I predicted them to finish 6th, which I'd still stick with. And I think that's their that's their best hope, really, to get back into the Europa League from the Conference League, because ultimately top 4, forget it. There was miles off last season, and have they improved that much? I mean, in terms of recruitment, I think Romero is going to be a good centre-back for the long term, but other than that, no one else really impressed me that much. Like Emerson at right-back, where you just, okay, as a rival fan, I'm not stepping back like, but yeah, I can't believe Tottenham have got him. So yeah, I wouldn't expect too much from Tottenham this season. I think Nuno's a slightly better fit for them than Jose, but ultimately Spurs fans, I think it's going to be another Spursy season, unfortunately for you.
It's going to be interesting how they do the course of the season. But let's go to Crystal Palace. Patrick Vieira getting his first win against his rivals that he played for when he was as an Arsenal captain. And Edouard coming in, is that what player that Spurs are missing? And it's now Palace has gained. Can he make the difference now of keeping Palace up this season?
If he can contribute a decent amount of goals, then certainly, because really, other than Benteke had a bit of a purple patch towards the end of last season, you do look at that squad and think, where are the goals coming from? So to bring another striker of his quality, if he can perform for Crystal Palace as well as he did in Scotland for Celtic, will be a big boost, because even Zaha has dropped off in the last couple of years. I know he had a great game on Saturday, but his goal and assist output, now I don't like to be one of these people who just look at stats, but he's not really contributing to the goals that much. So they do need another player who is going to chip in. So he's got off to a dream start for them. And I'm guilty a minute ago of doing what we usually do when a big team, well, I say big team, fairly big team, loses against a small team. You more focus on criticising the big team rather than praising, the underdogs. But great performance from Crystal Palace. And for most of this game, from what I see, they deserved it anyway. Even before they scored, I thought they were the better side. Spurs never really seemed to stamp their authority on the game ultimately, and Palace was in control of the game. I was really impressed with the midfield 3 actually. Kouyaté sitting in front of that back 4, and Gallagher and who's the other lad who's in there? I can't remember now. But yeah, I thought they won the midfield battle, and ultimately it was quite really not too much of a difficult game for Palace in the end. And as you say, Vieira getting one over his old rivals. So brilliant result for them. Fair play.
Absolutely, indeed. Let's go to yesterday's game. I have to say, it was a tough game for myself and most Leeds fans. But for Liverpool, it was a convincing 3-0 win. But the controversy came when Harvey Elliott has got a dislocated ankle, which Pascal Struijk was sent off in the game. And there was a bit of abuse from Leeds fans calling them. Some minority of the Leeds fans were very abusive, singing horrific songs about the Hillsborough stuff. Do you think that should not be in the game for what some of the Leeds fans were singing yesterday, Regan?
Mate, my uncle went to the first game of the season, United and Leeds, and I'm not just having a pop of Leeds fans because, there's scumbags in every fan base ultimately, but Leeds fans in that game were singing "Who's That Dying on the Runway." I'm not just having a pop because Leeds are a rival, but they do seem to be the worst fan base for this in terms... that's sick. Look, I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not going to be politically correct. I hate Liverpool, but I'd never dream of even behind closed doors taking the mick out of what happened at Hillsborough, for instance, because I don't find it funny personally. Now, if you told me now that you can have Man United win the Premier League and the Champions League the next 3 years, if Kevin De Bruyne... I know this sounds a stupid thing to say, but if Kevin De Bruyne dies, I'd say, no, I'd rather Man United get relegated and Kevin De Bruyne stay alive. I know it's a stupid thing to compare, but the point is, at the end of the day, look, I love football. I live football. It's my main passion in life, but some things are above football. This is people's life. So yeah, that's sick to bring that into it. But yeah, Liverpool, look, the top 4 is sorted now. Honestly, Liverpool, Chelsea, United and City, I don't know what order it's going to be in, but they'll be in the Champions League next season. The top 4 for me, they're just far and away better than the competition. I think Leicester will probably be the closest challenger again, and maybe the likes of Tottenham's and Arsenal's will be looking for them remaining European places. Maybe a Leeds if they could, stay a bit more solid this season. But the top four, I just think we've got. It's not the big six anymore. It's the big four, really. I said this to Coddy earlier. I think realistically, PSG and Bayern Munich, if you look around Europe, are the only other teams that I think would even challenge for top four. I don't think any of the Spanish teams get in the top four in this country. Inter Milan, Juventus, forget it. The likes of Borussia Dortmund, forget it. So that shows the quality of the Premier League. But yeah, on Liverpool, very convincing performance. Obviously, Salah getting on the score sheet again. I think it was his 100th Premier League goal, which is insane. And what Harvey Elliott, as I say, I'm not the biggest Liverpool supporter. I've got no time for them at all, but it was sickening to watch that, to be honest. Just watching the highlights. I mean, I see it yesterday, but just watching the highlights back about half an hour ago, it makes your stomach turn, doesn't it? Seeing the way his leg bent. And yeah, I wish the young man a speedy recovery. And ultimately, he's had a really good start to the season, so it's terrible for him. He'd forced his way into the team after an impressive loan spell at Blackburn in the Championship, and he'd obviously won the favour of Jurgen Klopp. So it's bad timing. But yeah, Liverpool, good start for them, obviously. 4 games, 3 wins, a draw, which was against Chelsea. They'll be up there. I don't think... maybe the other 3 teams might have a little bit more, but don't write Liverpool off. They'll be right up there.
Absolutely. Going to Leeds, Regan. Bielsa is now being a little bit criticised now lately. Too much gap in the midfield area. This game against Newcastle this week is a must-win game for them, isn't it, now for us?
I see it when you play us at Old Trafford. I mean, we're always going to batter you every time you come to Old Trafford, mate. No disrespect, because I see when we played you in the first game, like there's massive gaps in the midfield and defence. Like, when you talk about in possession, how you say about making the pitch big, as that's a positive. Obviously, you're stretching teams. You seem to make the pitch big off the ball, which isn't good, especially when you come up against teams with the quality that United and Liverpool and these boys have got in attacking areas. You will get found out. And ultimately, if you don't tighten up as a team, now in terms of individual players, you look at probably the back 4 you've got. There's some decent defenders there. Ireland, Junior Firpo's a good signing. Stroik's a good player. Cooper's a good centre-back. But the way you defend as a team, if that doesn't improve drastically, you're not really going to... I don't expect Leeds to suffer second season syndrome and be, battling relegation. No, not for me. But I don't really think you can get much higher in the league table and progress much further unless you start defending a lot better as a team, because ultimately, as I say, you're just getting torn apart by the better teams. There'll be the odd result where, we came to Welland Road in April time, I think it was, and it was a 0-0 draw. But 9 times out of 10, if you're that open, you will get found out when you haven't quite got the quality that these teams above you have.
Yeah, I know. And it's going to be a lot of questions, like I say, going into Friday's game against Newcastle. And also, after that, the next weekend game against West Ham next weekend at home as well. Yeah, it's too much to bloody worry about at the moment. Freaking hell. It's killing me at the moment, what's going on at Ellen Road. But I'm trying to be positive as I can do, man.
How are you feeling about the season overall? Are you still quite optimistic, or...?
Cautiously optimistic at the moment because of the way our results have been. Yes, and I think, as I said, we weren't slow starters. Like I said, we were slow starters, but we did have 1 or 2 wins at that time, start last season when we lost to Liverpool. So I just don't know how this has been a slow starter. And I think Bielsa needs to tweak his tactics because it's not working for all of us at the moment.
What do you think the biggest problem is then, except the overall team shape not being good enough? What do you think is the main thing that needs to change in the coming games?
I think our players are not tracking back, and also our man marking has been an issue. Our set pieces it's been an Achilles heel, and we cannot cope with the set pieces. And I think this is where we need to improve on, because I think we were the lowest ranked set pieces in the Premier League last season, and it's not surprised. And we're still at this current moment, and I think we just need to be so better at that.
I don't think you're that effective at attacking set pieces either. I don't think you've got great numbers.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, something that needs to be worked on the training ground. But as I say, I do think you'll improve in the coming weeks. You're not going to be this bad, I don't think. Bielsa's a quality coach.
Yeah, absolutely indeed. Let's turn to the next game at the King Power Stadium. Man City winning 1-0 at the weekend. Bernardo Silva scoring the winner. There was a controversial offside for Jamie Vardy. His goal was chopped off, but he was offside. But Regan, Bernardo Silva was linked with a move to Barcelona this summer. He was one of the few players who wanted to leave, but he's proven himself he should be part of this squad for Man City at this past weekend.
Well, yeah, Barcelona wouldn't be able to sign him because they won't be able to afford his €20 a week wage demands, the financial state of that club. But no, it's I know he's a bit of a fan favourite with City fans. I think the main thing was him actually not wanting to live in Manchester. He does appear to love playing for the club, and from a City point of view, it's great to see him back in the team and back amongst the goals. So I'm sure he's going to be a key player for them this season. But yeah, what I see of this game, didn't get to watch it live because it obviously running in conjunction with the United game, but I've watched a lot of it back, and I thought Leicester really held their own, to be honest. They gave City a good game. Obviously, could have been a different story. Took the lead through Vardy, which was very, very, I mean, fair play to the linesman for spotting that. It was just offside, and it was the right call in the end. So, fair play to him earning his pay rate, I suppose. But, yeah, I want to talk about Jack Grealish as well. Now, he's took to this City team like a duck to water. It really has. I mean, I didn't know where he'd play, whether to try and turn him into a number 8 or keep him on that left-hand side, maybe change system, play him as a number 10. But on this left-hand side, where he did so well for Villa, I mean, the beauty of Jack Grealish, especially in City's team, is that all the players in attacking areas, they move so well. The movement is really good as a team when they're in possession. And Jack Grealish draws players to him. You see for the goal, Diaz plays a lovely pass out. He's dribbling the ball into the box, which another thing he's great at. Progressive ball carries. If you're a stat man, Coddy was telling me, I think he's first in the league for this season. But when I watched this goal, you've got Castagna who's marking him. Is Castagna's man? Is the left winger? Castagna's the right back. But because how good Jack Grealish is, Mark Albrighton's getting drawn to him as well, which leaves Cancelo free at the edge of the box. Slips it to Cancelo, he has a shot, takes a bit of an unlucky deflection off Soyuncu, and Bernardo Silva's there to score. But it's just such a well-worked team goal when you think about it, how Jack Grealish has drawn them players to him and Cancelo is moving into the space. I think that's something you're going to see a lot of from City this season, and as I say, he's really fitted straight into their team. And I know a big talking point going into the game was the front three, which has done so well with Torres as a striker and Jesus in this new position on the right, and people are thinking, are we going to see a bit of Pep roulette and he's going to disrupt that front three, particularly with a big Champions League game against Leipzig coming up in midweek? But no, he stuck with it and it paid off in the end. But yeah, on Leicester, a lot of positives to be taken there. They're not going to drop off for me. I still don't think they'll be good enough for top 4 just because of the quality of the other teams. But they'll be up there. They'll probably be in that 5th position again. And maybe they could have a good run in the Europa League. They've got quite a big squad now. You look at the bench. I mean, you look at Soyuncu and Vestergaard, who look like they could build a really good partnership, by the way. I mean, Soyuncu, I do think, having watched a lot of him over the last couple of years, I think he benefits from having a leader next to him, like when Johnny Evans plays, and Vestergaard's a leader as well. And those two guys just defend the box so well. But talking about squad depth, they've got Johnny Evans on the bench. They've got Fofana to come back. Even now, they've got, in terms of other positions, they've got players like Ademola Lookman, Boubakary Samare to come in. Patson Daka, Iheanacho sitting on the bench, which I actually don't quite understand because the last few months of the season, I actually thought he was probably one of the best strikers in the Premier League from, say, February time onwards. Yeah, and I mean, I don't think he started a game in the league yet this season. In that game, it looks like they've sort of gone with like a 4-4-2, and I know they've got Maddison playing as like a second striker, but you may as well play Iheanacho as a proper striker and gives the City defence something a bit different to think of. He's a little bit of a physical presence. He could win them knock-ons for Vardy to run onto, and it gives you that option to go long. So I'm not quite sure why he hasn't been as involved as much of what I'd have expected, certainly. But yeah, as I say, on Leicester, a lot of positives to be taken, and ultimately another 3 points for City in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Another 3 points from Manchester City. Let's go to the game at the Emirates. Really, Arsenal got the first win of the season and the first goal in the Premier League after winning against Norwich. Goal from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who scored the winner. Is this a huge relief for the shit banter club, Regan, to get that win off the board?
I love that. We're not on a radio show that I won't mention anymore. There's no PC. Just say it as it is. Yeah, they're on the board, mate. As I say, even Aubameyang, as I call him, even he scored. They've finally scored a goal, so well done to them. Only 37 points left to go and they're safe. But no, great for Arsenal to get the first win. I mean, Norwich, it's been an awful start for them, hasn't it? I mean, I've just got a feeling about Norwich that they're still not going to be as bad as what there was last time. But judging by what I've seen so far, it's getting more difficult to make that argument. Even after 4 games, I feel like a bit of a prat for sort of defending them. But yeah, Arsenal, I mean, it wasn't exactly, it wasn't a great performance, but they played well and they got the job done. They had the chances. And Tierney, the pass from Tierney, actually, when he wins the ball back and the pass down the line for Aubameyang's goal. Aubameyang obviously senses that the ball's going to get played to him, makes a good run. But yeah, great ball by Tierney. And Arsenal, look, they've got 3 or 4 players in that team I really like in Tierney, but if he stays fit, Ødegaard, Smith Rowe when he's back, Saka. If they can build a team around these guys, I mean, look, I think the best Arsenal can hope for is challenging for Europa League spots this season. I'm not expecting too much from them, but they have got some players I like watching. But well, it's not going to be a good season for Arsenal ultimately, but good result. And at least you've actually scored a goal this season. So well done, guys. 1 goal in 4 games. You're off the mark.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, one thing as well, I did not expect to see Maitland-Niles in the starting 11 after the recent controversy with that Instagram post on deadline day. I see the teams. I thought he'd been sent to train when he under 23s.
That's what we all thought. Yeah,
madness, absolute madness. But fair enough. They haven't got many good players, so you've just got to take what you're given at Arsenal.
Absolutely. And before we go on to our next game, do you think Norwich did like a killer touch to try to score in the game against Arsenal? Do you think they just need a killer touch to help them to win games this season?
It didn't look like scoring, did they? From what I have to say, they didn't really look like they threatened the Arsenal backline too much, which is easy to get at, as we know from, even though they've got, mate, you'd probably say the first choice backline out in that game with Gabriel and White, Arsenal fans have been desperate to see, and the new right back and Tierney. I'm not convinced by that centre-back partnership, by the way, Gabriel and White. None of them are dominant in the air. I actually think you look at Vestergaard going to Leicester, £15 million. Arsenal fans might laugh, but I think he'd have been a cracking signing for Arsenal next to Gabriel, because Gabriel can step up. He's quite aggressive, really, isn't he? And you've got Vestergaard to sit there and just win everything with his head. But in terms of Norwich, yeah, like I said, it didn't look like scoring at all. And I do like Teemu Pukki. I think he can score goals at this level, but the thing is, with Norwich, what you'd worry about is the lack of Premier League experience still in that team. They've got a few players who was here last time, your Puki's, your Max Aarons, obviously the goalkeeper, Tim Krul. But overall, I said about Palace, about their signings that have much Premier League experience, but that whole Norwich squad, there's very little Premier League experience. It's obviously a really young squad as well, so that would be a little bit of a worry, but I want to see them in a few more games yet before I really pass judgment, because ultimately, I know they've lost 4 on the bounce, but the first 2 were City and Liverpool, so I'm really judging them in the last 2 games. I probably want to see the next 2 or 3 games, see how they do before I really make a judgment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who make a judgment on the Canaries this coming season as well. Let's go to the other game at Brentford Community Stadium. It was a close game between these 2 teams, but Brighton got the late winner by Lionel Trossard, his first goal since May. This was the even draw from what we saw. Both teams were very close to going for it, but Brighton got lucky at the end from a really good 25-yard from Trossard in the end.
Yeah, Brentford will feel very hard done by in this game. I think it was only Brighton's second shot on goal all game, and ultimately it's a great goal that's got them the points. But Brentford, if you told Brentford fans that they wouldn't lose in the first 3 games and they beat Arsenal, I definitely think that they've taken that. So yeah, not a bad start for them. Brighton, 2 teams who I hope both of them stay up, by the way, because they both play good football. I like the managers of both teams, and there's a lot of players that I like, and they're not these yo-yo clubs like, I know I've just defended them, but like the Norwiches and Watford who are up and down all the time. So I hope both of them stay up, but I think both of them will be down there. Whether they'll get relegated is another question, but they'll both be down there. But so, good result for Brighton, and obviously fantastic start for them. I think would they drop to 5th now after Liverpool's win? Yeah, I mean, but still, 5th. Great start for them. And Brentford, still positives to take. So, yeah.
Do you think Brentford just wasted the chances in front of goal as well this past weekend?
Yeah, they have in a couple of games, and I think was it Palace that drew 0-0 against. They had a couple of chances in that game that was missing that clinical edge as well. So, but ultimately, mate, teams near the bottom of the league, they're not teams who are fighting relegation. They're not always a shambles defensively. The biggest problem usually is that they struggle to score enough goals. And that's why I think both of these teams will be down there. Because Brentford, for as much as they've got a player in Ivan Toney, who I feel really could score goals at this level, I do feel like as a collective, as a team, they will struggle to score enough goals. And Brighton, we see, in terms of the expected goal statistics, they're right up there. They play great football, but they miss chance after chance after chance. I know they didn't in this game, but generally. So that's why I think both teams will be down there. But yeah, Brentford, well, it's more of a worry when you're not getting the chances, especially as an attacking player. But they have created chances in these first few games. And when Ivan Toney gets his shooting boots on, I think he got one in the last game for the international break. So again, positives to take, and positives to both teams really, and fair play to Brighton for a fantastic start.
Absolutely, indeed. Let's go to the Saturday evening kickoff. On Saturday, Chelsea beating Aston Villa 3-0. Lukaku scoring twice. Regan, is that the clinical finisher they needed, who could finish in front of goal after what happened last season when Werner was struggling to score in front? You need someone like Lukaku to get those goals.
That's realistically, if we're picking the team apart from last season, that's really the only missing piece of the jigsaw. I mean, I thought they had a good enough squad to probably challenge anyway, even without Lukaku, but you had Lukaku. I mean, he's like I said about Ronaldo, he's just a killer, isn't he? I mean, both goals, I mean, in the first goal, it's a fantastic pass from Kovacic, by the way, but Lukaku makes a great run in behind, which we didn't really see during his time at United. And he obviously sells Twanzebe down the river, turns him, he goes lunging in, finishing on his right foot, left foot, right foot, give Lukaku space in the box, it doesn't matter, he'll punish you. And the third goal, he gets it on the edge of the box. I think it's from Azpilicueta, who completely does Tyrone Mings there. Tyrone Mings overcommits and gets turned on the inside by Azpilicueta, who's not known as the most adventurous attacking fullback when he plays there. And Lukaku, but the power he generates in that to get it in the roof of the net, there's not even much bat lift on it, but he just absolutely smashed it home. But what I'll say about this game is, well, I'm not going to say fair play Aston Villa because you've got beat 3-0 ultimately, but this was not a 3-0 game. Aston Villa, they was in this game and they had their chances. Two of them actually put on a plate for Ollie Watkins by Sol Niguez, who had a really bad first 45 minutes in the Premier League, was of course hooked at half time and he really struggled. I mean, there was once where he gave a slap pass away. He had loads of time on the ball. He gave it straight to Douglas Luiz, who slipped it through to Ramsey, I think it was, who had loads of space in midfield, puts it into Watkins, who has a good chance, and Mendy, who was man of the match, by the way, was fantastic, has to get down and make a good save. Then there's another instance where he gets dispossessed just outside his own box, and it falls to Watkins, and he has another good chance what Mendy has to save. So he's really struggling to get to grips with the Premier League, but it's only his first game. He's come from, a foreign league. We've seen this time after time players in the first few months, or sometimes even in the first season, struggling to adapt. But the thing is with him, I mean, he's a good player, but his level has dropped the last year or so at Atletico Madrid. I don't think Simeone actually trusts him to play in the middle of the park, in midfield, which he sees his best position. So he's actually playing on the right a lot, if you remember. And Chelsea weren't exactly, for as much as a good addition, they weren't crying out for a midfielder. They've got Jorginho, they've got Kante, they've got Kovacic. So he's going to have to play a lot better when given the chance, just because the fact that, not because he's a bad player, just the fact that he will struggle to get into a team because the quality they've got in front of him. But look, ultimately, they rested a few players, the likes of Mount, Jorginho, Kante, didn't play well, but still got the 3 points, and that's why they're going to be right up there this season for me, mate. They're really going to challenge closely Chelsea this year.
Absolutely. I'm going to give you two more questions about this. Do you think Aston Villa really was hugely miss Breda and Martinez? And do you think Edouard Mendy is the most underrated goalkeeper in the Premier League?
Well, I mean, when they signed Mendy, I wasn't even sure if he was going to be first choice or if he was someone who was just going to come in and challenge Kepa. But make no mistake, Mendy is as big a signing for Chelsea. I know they've had him a year, but if Chelsea go on to win the league title this year, Mendy will be just as big a part of that as Lukaku. Because they can have you can have a world 11, mate, or a world 10. But if you've got Kepa in goal, he's going to give away a good 4 or 5 goals a season. And he won't Mendy made 4 or 5 just brilliant saves in that game. There was one double save, which was funnily enough from Mings and Konza, 2 of the centre-backs, where he makes a good save from Mings, but then even more impressive is it falls to Konza on the volley. He hits it. He actually takes a little deflection off Shalaba, which is taking it further wide. But it's just cat-like agility from Mendy. It's brilliant, reactions. And the save from Watkins, Watkins has hit that hard and low with a lot of power, but he gets down so quickly. He is an underrated goalkeeper, yeah. I think he got in the Champions League team this season, actually, didn't he? Which I'm not really a big fan of that. I tend to find that there's sometimes just pile a load of players into it from the winning team who wasn't necessarily the best in their position. But he's going to be like I say, if they go on to achieve something this season, he's going to be a massive part of that. And look, me and you would be an upgrade from Kepa, but Mendy is a very good goalkeeper.
Absolutely indeed. Let's go to the one of promoted game in the Premier League. Watford losing 2-0 against Wolves. Bruno Lage got his first win of the season. Heinwei Chan, who came alone from Salzburg, scoring his first goal. He's Leipzig. Leipzig, because he came from Salzburg and Leipzig. Scored his first. He's the first Korean player to score his first goal in the Premier League debut. How huge was that for Wolves to get the first win after losing the opening 3 games?
Well, it's quite an interesting story actually. The new striker scoring his first goal in his debut when realistically all 3 games. The Leicester game, I thought they were probably the better team. Tottenham game, they ripped them to shreds. The United game, we didn't deserve a point in that game. Wolves was playing some great football, but I said after that game that ultimately when you don't take your chances 3 games in a row, you get exactly what you deserve. I had no sympathy, but the first goal, it's quite funny that they finally score a goal and it's an own goal. But then, obviously, for a new striker, Heinwei Chan to get his first goal in his debut, that's big for them. And I said also after the United game, look, Wolves fans, don't worry. If you carry on playing how you've played in the first 3 and now 4 games, you're going to quickly climb up the table. They're not going to be down there. I think they could be in the bottom half because I just think there's a few teams who I think are better than them who I expect to be in the top half. But they'll be comfortably, surviving relegation. I don't think they'll be struggling. And what I've seen over the first 4 games, other than not taking the chances in the first 3 games, the likes of Adama Traore, we know his limitations in front of goal. Jimenez, I don't think he's fully back up to speed after obviously missing so long. But I have been very impressed by the football of play, creating a lot of chances. So there's been a lot of positives for Wolves. And overall, in terms of, if you're not looking at results but performances, it's been a very good start for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And going to Watford, their club record 10 game winning run has come to an end. They've not scored since opening day. Is that a bit of a worry for the Hornets?
The biggest worry is that Ben Foster's not playing, so the cycling GK vlogs aren't quite as interesting at the minute. But a worry, have they lost the last 3 now after beating Villa? Yeah. Who was the second game against? I know they lost to... who did they lose to last time out?
It was Villa. No, it wasn't Villa because they won against Villa, didn't they? So, yeah. That's
they beat Villa first game. I'm trying to think who the last 2 actually. They lost to Brighton in the second game. I watched that. They lost 2-0.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember the last one.
The last one they lost to Tottenham. It was Tottenham. Yeah, 1-0.
Yeah, Tottenham, Wolves, Brighton. Brighton's the one where they'd probably expected to get a result from. They'd be looking to get at least a point against a relegation rival. But Tottenham and Wolves are 2 good teams. But Watford, they will be struggling. They'll be down there. But I said at the start of the season, the reason I think they'll stay up is because there is such thing these days as a new manager bounce where you can go on a run of getting 9-10 points relegation side, and they'll have 3 or 4 managers this season. So I just think they'll get enough new manager bounces to pick up enough points. But on them, they look like they're struggling in front of goal as well, which, as we say, is a theme with these teams struggling down there. And I mean, selling Troy Deeney, I mean, I know he's probably he's past his peak here, especially at this level, but is that a mistake? So even if you've just got him on the bench, he's a great player to bring on if you need a different option up front and you need a goal. So I'm not sure if that was. I know it's Deeney probably wanted to move in the end, but I think that was probably a mistake, really. But yeah, Watford, as I say, they'll be struggling down there, and Wolves, fair play to them finally getting a win, to be honest. And yeah, I mean, it's probably what you'd expect from Watford, really. I don't think you can expect them to really be doing anything other than looking for survival this season.
Yeah, absolutely. The other teams also were looking at survival. Southampton getting their drawing 0 against West Ham. They're still without a win, the Saints, Regan. But do you think West Ham really lacked in the final third, especially after Mika Antonio got sent off in the 95th minute?
Yeah, big up to West Ham's defence for Aaron Cresswell bringing me in 8 points in fantasy football. So thanks for that, guys. I took Tyrone Mings out because I knew they weren't keeping a clean sheet against Chelsea. So fair play to Cresswell. But sorry, what did you ask me about Southampton not scoring a goal?
Still remain without a league win. Yeah.
It is a concern, yeah, because they've lost a striker like Danny. Well, ultimately, they've lost the best striker and the best centre-back in Vestergaard. So it is a massive concern. That's a big reason. The core of your team is so important. What goes around that, you add to that after you've got a strong core. I know getting Ward-Prowse on a new long contract was a big positive, but when you lose a defender like Yannick Vestergaard, and why did this is a question I've got, Carl. Why did they sell him 15 million? For me, they should be looking for 25 for him. I actually thought, other than the likes of Diaz, Stones, Fofana, Harry Maguire, etc., Thiago Silva last season, behind them guys, he was one of the most impressive centre-backs in the Premier League for me. Yeah. So I think that was an absolute pittance they lost him for. But yeah, they will be struggling down there, I think, because, I mean, they've got a good replacement for Danny Ings and Adam Armstrong, so I don't think they'll struggle to score goals as much as what we've said about the likes of Watford and Brighton and Brentford. But I just think Southampton, when I watched them, I know they kept a clean sheet in this game because West Ham was very much lacking any cutting edge, but I feel like they're very easy to play against, they're very easy to play through. They're quite flaky in defence. I don't think that in the midfield, as a defensive unit, I don't think they cover space very well. They're a bit like we said about Leeds. I just feel like whenever they come up against one of the better teams, I just see them getting ripped to shreds because they seem so open. I mean, I know we obviously dropped points to them, but in the second half, we massively dropped off and ultimately just didn't really get any momentum after equalising. But yeah, Southampton, they'll have enough to stay up for me. I don't think they're really going to be, scrapping in the last couple of games for survival, but they will be down there, I think. I don't think, losing the 2 best players other than Ward-Prowse, I don't know what they expect. I mean, it's terrible business from them, really, in terms of the transfer fees they've recouped for these guys.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, especially with Southampton with the ownership issues as well too. We don't know how that's going to pan out towards the end course of the season as well. But let's go to the table before we go to the EFL. Manchester United are leading joint top with Chelsea and Liverpool, but on the better goal difference. City are behind it in 4th with a point behind. Brighton are up in 5th, along with Spurs in 6th. West Ham still in 7th at the moment, along with Everton, who are playing tonight's game against Burnley. They're 8th. Leicester City in 9th, and Brentford is still in 10th place. Crystal Palace are now behind them 11th place. Villa's just a point behind it in 12th. Wolves and Southampton in 13th, 14th place. Arsenal get the first win and now up in 16th place. And Leeds in the bottom half at the life at this moment in 18th, while Norwich City is still bottom of the table with 0 points.
Hey, that was a relegation 6-pointer for Arsenal. Well done, guys.
Absolutely. Let's go to the EFL round and we'll start in the championship. And Regan, we have to start with your team. And disappointed for Derby this weekend. A loss to Birmingham 2-0. What's happened at Pride Park? Because this has been a huge mess on and off the field.
I'm not coming on this channel anymore. You've just done me in. I've made a joke about relegation and then you transition to Derby that smoothly.
Hey, listen, I did
It's
not mean to do that.
unbelievable.
Bloody hell. Listen, I did not mean to do that, okay? Bloody hell, man.
You've got it in for me here. No, oh, God, do I have to speak about this game again? Oh, right.
We saw your tweets. We saw your tweets. You didn't look really happy at all, so...
No, I mean, look, first 15 minutes, we actually started off quite well. First 20 minutes, right, we were on top and playing the better football, but realistically, all game, we didn't really create anything clear-cut. We had 3 half chances. Lawrence had a couple of efforts on his left foot. One, he couldn't quite get out of his feet properly. The other was from an awkward angle, and I think we had one more chance. I think it was Baldock, who, I don't know if he was trying to shoot, but I mean, I hope he was trying to pass because he was going towards Stratton, who was marked by 2 defenders, so I don't know why he would have been trying to pass there, but, he didn't really create much, and, I mean, the thing is, right, the first 5 games for the international break, we've started off really well in terms of performances, in terms of what we expected going into the season. We've got, this includes 3 goalkeepers, we've got a core group of 15 players, as in senior players, and you look at the bench, I mean, last season, I was a big campaign of, Rooney needs to go. He's not the right man. We need somebody who's experienced. But this season, I'm not going to criticise Wayne Rooney because ultimately, you look on the bench in that game, he brings Drax Stratton on it at half-time, another striker, a young lad, who goes for 2 up-front changes to sort of like a diamond system. But other than that, you can't really, I can't really look to Rooney in the second half and think, oh, why didn't you change things up? Why didn't you bring, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you bring him on? Why didn't you bring this player on? It's a load of kids on the bench, and that's ultimately the story. We've got a decent starting 11, but, and don't get me wrong, some of our youngsters are very good. We've got one of the best academies in the country, but there's no depth there. And for as much as it's been a good start in terms of before the international break, we only won 1 game, but the 3 games we drew, for large periods, we were on top. And that game we lost against Peterborough, a draw would have been the wrong result in that game. We battered them for large periods of the game. But I do worry when the games come thick and fast, especially around November, December time, when you've got games every 3 days. And when, you can go through periods in a season, Carl, where you've got 6, 7, maybe 8 injuries at once. That's a big worry for me. And if embargo isn't lifted before January, because what people have forgotten is we was able to sign Jagielka and Sam Baldock on short-term deals because of the long-term injuries of Christian Bielik and Kazim Richards. But when these guys are back by January, we won't be able to, under current restrictions, now I'm hoping things have changed by then, but we won't be able to re-sign Jagielka and Baldock. The club is in an absolute shambles at the minute. Mel Morris, I defended this guy for a long, long time and said, well, he's made mistakes, but he's always done the best for the club. He's Derby through and through. Nah, forget that. I'm not saying for 1 second that he doesn't give a shit about the club. But ultimately, he's dug his heels into the ground, this case against the EFL. He don't want to be wrong. He thinks he's right, and ultimately he's going to fight this until the bitter end. And what we're probably looking at here is, maybe we'll settle on a 6-point deduction, which would I take that over the threat of going into admin? Yeah, but a 6-point deduction ultimately is what relegated Sheffield Wednesday last season. So that would be a massive worry. But my worry is, I mean, I know a little bit about, I've got a bit of ITK knowledge, put it that way. I can't really say too much, but I'm still not that optimistic. I don't think this takeover is going to go through. And that's not because of anything I've been told, by the way. That's just my gut instinct. And I just have a horrible feeling that this is going to ramble on all season ultimately, and it's going to be a big struggle for us if we can't do business in January because, like I say, it's a thin bare squad and it's worrying. Looking at this season, I was worried going into the season. We had a positive start. You're thinking, oh, maybe it won't be quite as bad as what we thought, but I am worried. And this isn't just overreacting after one bad result. This is what we expected anyway. So it is massively worrying times for not just what's going on the pitch, for the future of the club. Even people who work at the club, I'm sure, will have the same uncertainty that us as a fan base have got. They don't know their futures, whether there's still going to be a job there for them in the long term. So it's a massive worry.
It's a massive worry, Dean. It's also a massive worry for your rivals, Nottingham Forest. They lost 2-1 on Sunday to Cardiff City. No wins at all. Is there huge pressure on Chris Hughton this season from the Nottingham Forest fans because they voiced their displeasure at the final whistle yesterday?
Well, this is a massive surprise. I mean, I know actually it's quite ironic because Derby and Forest are the two biggest clubs in the Championship by an absolute country mile. Nobody can tell me that any other club even comes close. Now, I'm humble enough to admit that we're the second biggest, slightly behind Forest, but we're actually probably two of the most worst run clubs in the league as well. But even with Forest ownership issues, I looked at this season and thought Chris Hughton's first full season, I thought they'd be challenging right up there. But the recruitment, there's managed to scramble around and get a few good loans in last minute, the likes of Max Lowe, who I've washed my hands with, by the way. For Derby lad going to Forest, forget it. And James Garner, who's massive for them to get him back. But ultimately, I think they signed one player in terms of actually who's their signing and did 5 loans. But I didn't expect them to be struggling at the foot of the table like they are. I mean, honestly, mate, they've lost every game, obviously, apart from when they played us. But how they got a point against us, I'm not just saying it because of my hatred for them. They are one of the worst teams I've seen come to Pride Park in the last few years. They were abysmal. I'm embarrassed that they got a point against us. So I think they're really going to struggle. And, you know, this Forest board, historically, haven't really shown patience to managers. So I think Chris Hughton, he's got to win the next game, put it that way. I'm not sure who they're playing this week, but if they don't win, especially if they don't win at the weekend as well, I think he's on his last legs unless he goes on a run, to be honest.
Yeah, he does. The next game he's on Wednesday night against Middlesbrough, and also this Saturday as well against away to Huddersfield. So this is a huge win for both. It's must-win games for Chris Hughton for the end of this weekend.
The frustrating thing for Chris Hughton, looking at where's this Middlesbrough? Oh, it's at home, so there's even more pressure on them to get a result against Middlesbrough. But the frustrating thing is, out of them 2 games, he'd love for it to be Huddersfield in the midweek. They are a team who's beatable. I mean, they're dross as well, what I've seen of them. But Middlesbrough, I mean, under Neil Warnock, that's going to be an awkward game to navigate. And especially if you've been at home, you do wonder. I'm just saying this because of the Forest board's history over recent years as well. If they don't, even if they draw that game, certainly if they lose, I can't see him being in charge at the weekend. I really can't. And I think Chris Hughton's a good manager, but it's really not worked out from there at Forest. And I don't know if you've seen it, but this was about 3 weeks ago now. I don't know if you've seen the leaked WhatsApp messages that Lyle Taylor had sent to her. I'm guessing it was one of his mates. I'm guessing you'd seen them from that reaction. But yeah, it looks like he's certainly his problems in that dressing room as well. Are all them players playing for him? I don't like to always throw that accusation about, but it don't look good. And the funny thing is, I mean, we're a shambles, but all summer they have spent literally all summer having pops at Derby about the state we're in, saying you're going down with a fiver in the bang and singing all this. And they're sat on the foot of the table playing absolute dross football. I mean, when they came to Pride Park, do you know what? Actually, I waited outside their team bus after the game because we waited and got pictures with a few of the Derby players. Yeah. And I said, when Chris Hughton walks out, he'll have a fucking hard on looking at this bus because that's his playing style. The bus just parks there. They'll smash it up to the big man, Lyle Taylor. That's their only way of playing. And look, as I say, he's on his last legs. Forest are finished as a football club, and I'd love it if we finished above them, even in an absolute shambolic state that we're in.
Oh, such hard times for the East Midlands coast, really is. So much hard times at the moment. Let's go to the other game. I don't need the championship. Let's find a game before. What a win for Sheffield United. Getting their first win at the start of the season, winning 6 against Peterborough United. And IA scored 2 goals as well as Ben Osborne as well. Is this a huge kickstart for Sheffield United to try to challenge for the top half of the table this season?
I went there Bramall Lane for the international break. We played them in the League Cup, and with our second string out, really, we played them off the park. And they won in the end because ultimately they took the 2 chances here and we didn't take ours. But I'm sat there thinking, what's going on at Sheffield United? Because I remember saying last season that they'll in the Championship, that is a Championship squad. On paper, that's a fantastic squad in the Championship, I think. I did think they'd struggle a little bit in terms of it's difficult to get out of that habit when you're losing games every week. Just in terms of the mentality, it's difficult to flick the switch and suddenly start battering teams just because you're in a new league. But I certainly expect them to do a lot better than where they are in the league table at the minute. I do think they'll be up there challenging for the playoff positions because of the quality of the squad, and ultimately they finally clicked, if you like, on Saturday in a crazy second half. It was 1-1 at half time. Jack Marriott, obviously former Derby striker, equalised for Peterborough just before the break. And I don't know how much Red Bull the Sheffield United players drank at half time, but it obviously worked. 5 goals in the second half. The new lad, I think, is he come from the academy, that NDI? He's playing number 10, wasn't he? He looks really good, 2 goals. Gibbs White, cracking loan signing in the Championship. I'm sure he's going to have a great season for them, I'm sure. A brilliant player at this level. Brilliant piece of business from Wolves. He looks really good. And John Fleck, what a midfielder he is in the Championship. Billy Sharp. Look, Billy Sharp at this level, he's just a complete centre forward. It'd be a dream to see him in a Derby shirt. He's one of the best Championship players, probably, of all time. So, look, they've got the team there to challenge right up there. And I do think they'll be challenged up there for the playoffs. They've got a good manager as well, Jukanovic, and maybe they can go on and run now after finally getting a comprehensive victory.
Absolutely. Let's go to our final game before we go into our European roundup, match previews. Sorry. We have to talk about what's going on at Ipswich. They lost 5-2 to Bolton. Is Paul Cook so much under pressure after they signed 19 players following a takeover back in April?
Well, yeah, their transfer strategy has been signing players who have been at Derby or if Derby have tried to sign. Now, they signed George Edmondson, who we had on loan from Rangers, which is a cracking deal, by the way, for a League One team to pick him up. It's a brilliant piece of business. They've signed Sonny Aluko, who's on trial with us, and Tom Carroll. Now, I know Paul Cook's coming under a lot of criticism for many reasons, and actually one of them is that he hasn't started Tom Carroll yet. A League One team has got Tom Carroll. You can play him in midfield. I don't know why he's not giving him a chance. They've got Harper and the other lad in there. I can't remember his name, but he's coming into a lot of criticism for his tactics and his team selection. I can understand some of the fans' frustrations. I would give him more time because Paul Cook is a good manager, particularly at this level. It's only a few years ago. I think, was it back-to-back? He won the League Two with Sunderland and then won League One with Wigan. Kept them up. No, sorry. No.
Not Sunderland, actually, no.
Portsmouth, then Wigan. I meant to say Portsmouth, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was doing well at Wigan before, obviously, the financial situation that went on there. They lost all the best players. But, yeah, I think it's a case of they've changed the squad too much. He stuck his neck on the line. I know he sort of came in and wanted to completely change the squad. But as you say, did he say it's 25 players they've brought in?
19 players. I think they'd let go more than 15 players, something like that as well. So,
Karl, honestly, even if you look at a squad and think it needs major surgery, you can't change that many players in one window. How can you? This is where I'd actually say to the fans, give him time because you've got 19 new players. A team is not going to gel that quickly. It's simply not. But the concerning thing is they're shipping goals left, right and centre. And they've got quite an experienced back four as well overall. And conceding 5 goals at home is, I always say, there's ways of losing a football match. That's not it. It's shambolic, some of the defending I'm seeing. I know there's big frustrations from the fans. And yeah, he's coming under pressure, but he's not been in the job that long. I do think they should give him time. He's a good manager. But there is criticisms of Paul Cook. He needs to, certainly one of them is... I really wanted Derby to pick up Tom Carroll, as we would have done if we could have signed more players. But I can't understand why he's not using him in that midfield. So that's one of the criticisms. But a terrible start for Ipswich. It was in the Championship a couple of years ago, and now, I don't know if they will struggle this bad as the season goes on, but can you imagine Ipswich going down to League Two? That's madness.
Yeah, especially they're not won the opening of the 7 games in all competitions. Yeah, that is really worrying. It really is.
Is it 3 draws and 3 defeats they've got? 3 draws and 4 defeats. Not good. Not looking good for them, is it?
No, it's not looking good for them.
If you're going to pick out one positive, is they are actually scoring goals. I know they've drew a couple of games 2-2. They scored 2 at the weekend. But when you're shipping goals for fun like that, scoring 2 goals at home realistically should be enough to win you the game. But you've conceded 5, so little sympathy for them, really, but huge sympathy for the fan base because they're a massive club in League One.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a massive club that expected promotion, but it's not going the way it is, absolutely. It's not really not going the way it is. Right, finally, we're going to go into our last topic before we finish off. It is we got the Champions League back, the Europa League, and the newly Europa Conference League as well. Right, Regan, we'll start with Manchester United. We've got some team news. They go away to Young Boys tomorrow on Tuesday. Cavani is missing out with a minor injury, but Ronaldo's named in the travelling squad. Like I said, with that mentality for Ronaldo for that first game in the United shirt in the Champions League since 2009, this is going to be huge for Manchester United to start off, have a good start in their first group stage game.
Yeah, I was chatting to my pal about it, who's a fellow United fan, and he was saying, I think we'll really change the team up. I said, I'm not sure if now I know it's only Young Boys, and if it was in the Europa League, I think we'd see 11 changes for this game, but it's still game 1 in the Champions League away from home. You want to get off to a great start. I don't think we will see much changed. I think maybe you'll see a Jesse Lingard, someone like that start. Maybe Sancho will drop after his performance, and maybe a Fred comes into the midfield next to Pogba. Other than that, Ronaldo's playing, Bruno's playing. The back 4 I don't see changing. I think it's going to be a strong team, and ultimately I think that'll be enough to get a comprehensive victory. I've looked at their start to season. I think the 4th in the Swiss Super League at the minute. I think they've won 2, drew 2 and lost 1, so a bit of an average start for them. So I wouldn't expect them to cause us too many problems, really. I think it'll be a comfortable evening, hopefully we can get 2 or 3-0 up and take a couple of the big hitters off ahead of I think it's West Ham on Sunday,
yeah, absolutely. Other game in the Champions League on Tuesday as well. Chelsea at home to St. Pete's play. No N'Golo Kante or Christian Pulisic in the game, but Kante should be back to play Tottenham on Sunday. The European champions, Regan, they're going to go in with huge confidence after a good start to the season.
Yeah, well, and it's like we said, I didn't know Kante was injured, actually. I thought they'd rested him, but okay. And the likes of Jorginho and Mason Mount and even maybe Timo Werner, if he probably won't play, but Reece James, these guys, they've got away with resting them at the weekend and have got the result, and now they're ready for the Champions League for Zenit. And yeah, I'd expect them to get off to a winning start in this 3 points. And yeah, Chelsea, there's no reason why with the squad they've got. Look, semi-final. I'm making no prediction now. I think semi-final have 3 English teams in it. I just think, honestly, Karl, the quality of this Premier League, it might be the highest quality Premier League in terms you've got 4 top teams of all time. Now, people glorify the mid-2000s in the Premier League. I grew up watching that. That was a great Premier League. You had, obviously, we was winning titles back-to-back, which was awesome. You had a good Arsenal team at times under Wenger, a great Chelsea team. Liverpool under Benitez was strong. But I don't think it was like this in terms of the whole quality of the league. So I'm backing all the English teams to do really well in the Champions League, to be honest with you. And again, I don't think Zenit will have too many problems that they'll cause for Chelsea, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Zenit people only picked up 1 point in the Champions League last season as well, so it's not a huge way for Chelsea as well. Wednesday's game, Leipzig travel to Man City. Leipzig have really struggled in the Bundesliga lately, Regan. Is this going to really help Man City go to the first game despite when they lost? They wasted the chances in the Champions League final last season.
They got absolutely slapped by Bayern Munich at the weekend, didn't they? In embarrassing fashion. I mean, even Choupo-Moting's coming on and scoring against you. You know it's bad. Nah, fair play to that guy, to be honest, the career he's gone on to have. But I'd expect City to probably get a win in this. But I'm looking forward to this, actually. I'm going to watch this game because Leipzig are certainly capable of causing them problems. I don't know if they're going to be the Leipzig that they were under Nagelsmann. I mean, it's early days, but losing a couple of the better players and well, no, to be honest, I don't think it's the players they've lost because they've recruited quite well again, bringing in the likes of Andre Silva, but just losing Nagelsmann, I'm not sure if it's going to be quite as much of a force, but the way Leipzig defend sometimes, they seem to be so open at times as well. There was at the weekend, I watched a little bit of that. I mean, that was worrying, the amount of gaps they were leaving. So you'd expect City to tear them apart, really. I think City will probably win this 3-4-1 or 4-2, something like that. I think there'll be a few goals in this game, actually.
Yeah, I do as well. It's going to be interesting on Wednesday. And it's the repeat of the 2005 and 2007 Champions League final. Liverpool against AC Milan. This is AC Milan's first trip to Anfield in a group stage game. This is going to be a mouth-watering game, isn't it, Regan? You got Zlatan, who's going to be playing as well. This is going to be a tough one to which teams to win. Who's going to win that one on Wednesday night?
Is this on at the same time as the City game?
Yes.
Oh, and you've got Inter Milan and Real Madrid as well. Jeez, actually, I don't know which one now I'm going to watch. That's a bit of a heartbreaker, to be fair. I'd like to watch all three. Liverpool and AC Milan. Yeah, do you know, I'd expect Liverpool to win at home in front of the Anfield crowd, but actually, I think Milan are capable of causing them a few problems. They've got a good team, Milan, with Zlatan up front. They've got Giroud as well. They've got Brahim Diaz in there. They've got, they've got a lot of good players. Kesse and Benacer in midfield. Teo Hernandez at left back can get forward and cause problems. They've got a decent team. So I actually wouldn't be surprised. I could see them nicking a result, actually. I'm going to call it now. I think it's going to be 1-1 that game. I just feel like Milan will have a game plan, and they've got the players to hurt Liverpool. Maybe they'll play a bit more direct, go up to Zlatan, and he can bring players into the game. And we still know how capable he is in front of goal. He must be nearly 41 now, which is insane. But yeah, who else is in that group, by the way? It escapes me.
Yeah, the one in the good group is Atletico Madrid and FC Porto as well.
You know what people are saying about City's group, who, funnily enough, have got basically our group from last year, Leipzig and PSG, but I think that's probably the best group, Group B. You've got Atletico, Liverpool and Milan. I could see all of them winning that group, and Porto, look how good they were getting to the quarterfinals and really playing quite well in both legs against Chelsea as well. So
yeah,
I'm probably going to watch Liverpool and Milan, to be fair, and if Liverpool go 1-2 up, I'll switch over to one of the other games. To be honest, I won't be able to bear it. But I think there's going to be some great games in that group, some good back and forth in terms of movement in that table between them teams. So I'd expect a couple of entertaining games in that group on Wednesday night.
Absolutely. Let's go to Thursday's games in the Europa League. Our British clubs, we've got Rangers at home to Lyon, Leicester City at home to Napoli, and also away as well that West Ham away to Dinamo Zagreb. Let's start with West Ham back in the Europa League for the first time properly now after so many years. Can they really start well in Zagreb on Thursday?
I feel like they might struggle, to be honest. Zagreb have got they've got a good record against London clubs, I believe. They obviously knocked out Tottenham last year in typical Tottenham fashion. And West Ham, I look at them and I don't know if they've got the squad, to balance the Premier League and Europa League. I don't know if I see them getting out of this group. I feel like they'll struggle going away to Zagreb on Thursday night, and I probably expect Zagreb to win that game. Leicester and Napoli and Rangers and Lyon, they're two cracking games to watch, aren't they? Rangers and Lyon, I don't know how to call that, to be honest. I've not watched any of Lyon so far this season. That'll be a close game. But Leicester and Napoli, I actually think Leicester might get a result in this one. It's in Naples, isn't it?
It's at home at the King Power Stadium.
Oh, is that the King Power? I think Leicester might get a result. I think, like I said, I think they have got the squad to balance both competitions. They'll obviously have a strong team out in this game. They've got to if they're taking this competition seriously. And what a great opportunity for Leicester to go on and win another trophy, because ultimately, they're capable of beating anyone on the day. The worrying thing for a team like Leicester is the teams who are going to drop out of the Champions League. You may be going to have a Leipzig, you could have an Atletico Madrid or an AC Milan or a PSG. No, not PSG, aren't going to finish third in that group, let's be honest, with their team. But looking at the teams who are in it at the minute, I'd probably say Leicester should be one of the favourites on paper with a team they've got, to be honest. I think, honestly, Karl, I think we underestimate how good Leicester's squad is. It's not like they've just got a good core of 9-10 players. They've got a good 16, 17 players, so I think they could really do well in this competition.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how they go far, especially when the first season in the Champions League, they got to the quarterfinals, and they did get into that last 8 as well in last season's Europa League. Final game in the newly Europa Conference League, Tottenham away to Rennes. It's after what happened with Tottenham on Saturday. They have to go to this game with confidence now against Rennes. Rennes have been really good was good last season as well, where they finished.
Rennes going to win this 2-0. I'm telling you now, honestly, honestly, mate, honestly, Tottenham should be looking to win this competition. I mean, realistically, for me, if they win the competition, this doesn't end a trophy drought. This is like winning the freaking Audi Cup. This is not a prestigious competition at all. And I am so glad when you said a minute ago, let's look ahead to Thursday night. I am so glad I'm not previewing United's game playing on Thursday night. I'm absolutely sick of over the years going into that competition. Now, don't get me wrong, when we went into it last season, I desperately wanted to win it because you want to win every competition you're in. But, I mean, the Conference League, I mean, they're playing Rennes in this game, but who'd have got next game? Who'd have got like Dog and Duck FC or somebody like that? I mean, let's be honest, there's a couple of decent clubs, the likes of Tottenham, Roma, I think Union Berlin are in it. Granada, I think Granada might be the Spanish team in it.
Yeah.
But it's a pub competition, let's be honest. And Tottenham, if you don't win this, you're an absolute embarrassment, to be honest. And if you do win it, look, I'm not giving you that much praise because it's like honestly, when I played kids football in summer in pre-season, you used to have these like five-a-side tournaments where you turn up and you basically play the old tournament.
Yeah.
It's one of them, basically. It's no more prestigious than that. So, good luck, Tottenham. And you're not going to win this game, I don't think. I think you're going to get embarrassed in a crap competition.
We'll see. We will see on Thursday. Regan, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much as usual. And what's coming up on your podcast this week?
Pleasure as always, mate. Well, I've actually, as soon as we go off there, I'm finalising and editing the Prem Review show that we recorded this morning. So that will be out probably in a couple of hours, or at the latest, I'll be putting it out tomorrow morning. I'll put an announcement out on Twitter and Facebook, Instagram, all the socials. And then we've not actually spoke about what other shows we're doing this week, but we probably will have another show coming out towards the end of the week. So keep your eyes peeled for any announcements on that. And as always, next week it'll be the regular weekly Prem Review show. And I'm sure we'll have to get Karl and also Douglas back on the show at some point because it's always fun. And it's been a pleasure to come on this channel again, mate. It's been, you made it up to me afterwards. You teed me up horribly transitioning from relegation into Derby, but then afterwards you let me speak about Forest struggling straight after, so fair play to you. But yeah, it's been fully enjoyable, mate, and it's obviously a new channel, a new adventure we've got. So if you are watching live or afterwards, if you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button, help us out, and yeah, pleasure as always, mate.
It's always been a pleasure, Regan. Thank you very much. And that is the end we got time for here on the Totally Levy and Horne Football Podcast. Like I said, I'm going to do some more content this week. We're going to try to do our first Premier League predictions as well this week, hopefully on Thursday. And then hopefully we'll try to do our preview weekend for the games as well. But as I said, we'll be back sometime next week. Unfortunately, not on Monday because it is my mum's 60th. I am back in Huddersfield to relax myself and enjoy for a day, but I'm going to do some more recordings next week. But thank you very much. As always, it's a pleasure. And like I say, please like our video and please subscribe as well. We really appreciate that. And all the videos will come on our YouTube as well as Facebook and also Twitter. And also our audio for the podcast will be on our podcast services on Apple, Google, and other podcast services as well. That's the end we got time for, and hopefully see you again next time. Take it for now. Bye-bye.